The winter wind cut through the mountain village. Smoke curled from cracked chimneys. A black SUV stopped on the dirt road, its tires crunching gravel. Inside sat Ethan Cole, 35, a powerful CEO known for ruthless deals and empty dinners. His body was thin from years of anorexia. Food had been his enemy. His wealth meant nothing against the fear that ruled his plate. He stepped out, wearing a gray vest over a white shirt. His expensive shoes sank into dust. Behind him, 6 suited bodyguards scanned the quiet street. Ethan walked toward an old wooden inn, clutching a file. The company's new factory site was here, far from city lights. But his steps faltered when he saw a small child standing by a wooden table outside a modest clay house. She was 5, hair tied in 2 braids, wearing a faded denim dress. She was setting out bowls of steaming rice and vegetables. Her cheeks were pink from the cold. Her mother emerged young and heavily pregnant, her red dress stretching over her belly. Her long dark hair was braided like her daughter's. She carried another bowl of food, her breath visible in the chilly air. Her name was Maya, once a city waitress, now a single mom scraping by on seasonal farm work. Ethan froze. The sight of the food made his chest tighten. He had not tasted a full meal in years. Not even his personal chefs could coax him. But the smell here was different. Warm broth, fresh bread, pickled beans. It wasn't plated on silver. It wasn't staged for shareholders. It was survival. The little girl looked up at him with wide eyes. "Sir, are you hungry?" The words pierced him. For a moment, he forgot the contracts, the bodyguards, the factory. Hunger was a memory he had buried. He wanted to say no. He wanted to retreat to the SUV, but something in her voice held him. Maya stepped closer, cautious but kind. "You look pale. Please sit. We have enough." Ethan's guards exchanged glances. Their boss never ate outside 5-star restaurants. But Ethan sat down slowly on the rough wooden stool. The girl handed him a steamed bun, her tiny fingers leaving a warm print on the dough. His hand trembled as he took a bite. The soft bread and gentle salt hit his tongue. The world tilted. He had forgotten what food could taste like when cooked with care. His throat tightened, and for a heartbeat he wanted to cry. Maya watched him quietly. She saw a man hiding behind perfect hair and an expensive watch, yet looking fragile as a lost boy. She didn't know his name or his battles. She only saw a stranger who seemed lonelier than she was. Ethan ate slowly, tasting every grain of rice, every vegetable. The girl giggled when he reached for another bun. For the first time in years, he didn't count calories or fear judgment. He glanced up at Maya. "It's good." His voice cracked. She smiled softly. "It's just simple food, but it keeps us alive." The wind rattled the roof tiles. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. Ethan felt the walls around his heart shift. The fear that had ruled him seemed smaller under their gaze. When he finished, he placed the empty bowl down and exhaled. Something inside him had changed. Then his phone buzzed. A message from his assistant. "The board is waiting. Don't get distracted." But he couldn't look away from the little girl's laughter or Maya's tired yet gentle smile. He realized he was already distracted. The bodyguards moved closer, sensing the delay. Ethan stood, brushing dust from his vest. He hesitated, then said quietly, "Thank you for reminding me what food is." Maya blinked, unsure what he meant. Ethan walked back toward the SUV, but stopped after a few steps. He turned. The sight of them under the winter sun struck him deeper than any deal. His hand hovered on the car door. The girl's giggle echoed, and Ethan, the CEO who hadn't eaten in years, knew he could not drive away. Ethan's fingers hovered over the SUV door handle. The winter sun pressed against his back. The little girl's giggle lingered in the air, soft and persistent. He turned once more, the sight of Maya's swollen belly and the steam curling above the wooden table anchoring him in place. "Sir, we need to leave," one bodyguard said quietly. But Ethan didn't move. Something in him had cracked open. He walked back to the table. Maya looked surprised but didn't step back. The girl held another bun, her small hand reaching toward him. He took it slowly, almost reverently, and sat again. I haven't tasted food like this in years, he said. His voice was low, almost a confession. Maya folded her arms across her belly. It's just beans and rice. Nothing special. It is, Ethan replied. Because you made it. She studied him. His expensive watch and polished shoes didn't match the way his hand trembled slightly as he ate. She could see a man who looked powerful but felt breakable. The girl grinned. Mom says food makes people strong. Ethan swallowed hard. Your mom is right. For a while no one spoke. The sound of distant goats and the crackle of the fire filled the silence. Ethan finished the bun and let out a quiet breath. Maya broke the silence. We don't get many visitors. People from the city don't stop here unless they're lost. I wasn't lost, Ethan said, then hesitated. At least not on a map, she raised an eyebrow. But maybe inside? Ethan didn't answer. His phone buzzed again, another reminder of the board meeting. He ignored it. Maya sat down across from him. Why were you afraid to eat? He stiffened. How did you... You look like someone who's been hungry but doesn't trust food, she said quietly. I know that look. I've seen it in my little girl when we were down to scraps. He felt exposed in a way he hadn't in years. It's complicated. Life usually is. The girl interrupted, sliding a small bowl toward him. This one's my favorite. Ethan took it. The soup was thin but fragrant. He sipped carefully, then closed his eyes. The warmth spread through him, steadying something fragile inside. A gust of wind rattled the door of the clay house. Ethan looked around at the simple yard, the rough walls, and the woman and child who had fed him without hesitation. Something about this place felt more real than the boardrooms and penthouses he knew. He placed the empty bowl down gently. Thank you, Maya smiled faintly. It's nothing. It isn't nothing, he said. You don't know what this means, the bodyguard shifted impatiently. One whispered into his earpiece, waiting for orders. Ethan didn't care. He stood but didn't head for the SUV. He looked at Maya. I'd like to see you again. Maya's eyes widened. Why? Because for the first time in years, I felt alive. The girl clapped her hands, delighted, unaware of the weight in her mother's eyes. Maya said nothing, but her silence was an answer Ethan couldn't walk away from. The following morning, Ethan's SUV rumbled down the village road again. Frost clung to the rooftops and the same clay house stood against the pale sky. Maya was outside, sweeping snow from the porch. Her daughter spotted the black vehicle and ran forward, her laughter echoing across the yard. Ethan stepped out without his bodyguards this time. He held a paper bag in one hand. Breakfast, he said simply. His voice was softer now. Maya frowned. You didn't need to come back. I did, Ethan replied. He placed the bag on the table. Inside were fresh bread, fruit, and a thermos of hot tea from the nearest town. The little girl clapped her hands. Mom, look, apples. They sat together at the same table. Ethan watched the steam rise from the tea. His fingers trembled slightly as he poured. Eating still felt dangerous, but sitting here felt safe. Maya sipped her tea. People in suits don't usually visit places like this. I didn't plan to, Ethan admitted. But yesterday, I remembered what food can be. She studied him, her dark eyes searching. What do you mean? For years I was afraid of every meal. Afraid of losing control. Afraid of myself. But yesterday I wasn't afraid. The little girl bit into an apple, juice dripping down her chin. She smiled at Ethan. You don't look scary anymore. He chuckled quietly. It was a sound he hadn't made in months. The morning sun slipped higher, warming the frozen earth. Birds gathered on the fence. The world felt untouched by his usual chaos. Maya broke the silence. Your company must need you. You can't stay here. Ethan's expression hardened slightly. The board can wait. They won't wait forever. He looked at her. Then they'll have to learn. Maya glanced away, unsure how to respond. Her life had been shaped by people leaving. Her husband had abandoned her when she was pregnant. She had built a fragile peace with her daughter, and now a stranger threatened to disturb it. The little girl tugged Ethan's sleeve. "Can you stay for lunch?" Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "I'd like that." They spent the next hours preparing food together. Maya chopped vegetables while Ethan carried firewood. His expensive watch looked absurd against the rough logs, but he didn't care. As they worked, Maya's laughter slipped out, light and cautious. She hadn't laughed like that in a long time. When they sat to eat, Ethan tasted the stew and closed his eyes. The warmth spread through him again. He wasn't thinking of calories or the boardroom. He was thinking of Maya's hands and the child's laughter. A sudden ringtone shattered the moment. Ethan's phone buzzed on the table. The screen showed his assistant's name. Maya's smile faded. "They're calling you back." Ethan silenced the phone without looking. "Not yet." The girl rested her head on his arm, drowsy from the meal. Ethan looked at her small face and then at Maya's guarded eyes. For the first time in years, Ethan felt the weight of choice pressing on him. He didn't know how long he could resist the world waiting beyond this village, but he knew he wasn't ready to leave. Evening shadows stretched across the village as Ethan lingered outside the clay house. The cold air smelled of wood smoke. Inside, Maya tucked her daughter under a heavy quilt. The girl yawned, whispering, "Will he come back tomorrow?" Maya brushed her hair and whispered, "Sleep now." But her own heart was uncertain. Ethan stood under the fading light, staring at the message on his phone. The board threatened to replace him if he didn't return. Millions of dollars and years of work waited in the city, but his thoughts kept circling back to a wooden table and a bowl of soup that had quieted his fear. Maya stepped onto the porch, her coat wrapped tight. "You don't belong here," she said softly. "I don't belong anywhere else," Ethan answered. She looked at him for a long moment. "Men like you leave. That's what happens." "I've left too many times," he said. "I'm tired of running from the things that matter." The wind rattled the windows. Maya's eyes softened, though doubt lingered. She stepped closer. "I can't promise you anything. I have a child. I have a life here." "I don't want promises," Ethan said. "I just want to be someone who doesn't run from dinner. Or from people." She studied him. His face, once rigid and distant, now seemed human, even fragile. "Stay for tonight," she said quietly. They sat together inside by the small fire. Ethan watched the flames dance while Maya prepared a simple supper. He took a spoonful without hesitation, the fear that had ruled him fading like smoke. As the girl slept, Maya and Ethan spoke in low voices. He shared pieces of his life, years of empty plates, crowded parties where he never ate, nights when success felt like starvation. Maya listened, her eyes steady. She told him of nights. She worked until dawn. Mornings she woke unsure how to feed her daughter. The fire crackled. Outside, snow began to fall again. Ethan reached for Maya's hand, tentative but sure. She didn't pull away. In that quiet room, surrounded by warmth and the faint sound of a child's breathing, the walls around his heart crumbled. He wasn't a CEO tonight. He wasn't a man ruled by fear. He was simply Ethan, and for the first time in years he felt full,